To the latest on American tariffs, the Ford government launching a $1 billion loan program to help businesses affected by Donald Trump's tariffs, including businesses in Hamilton's steel industry. The money is for Ontario-based businesses in steel, aluminum, and auto sectors who have already exhausted federal tariff support programs. The Protect Ontario financing program will provide loans of anywhere between $250,000 and $40 million to help businesses make payroll, lease, and utility payments and avoid closures and layoffs.
The type of businesses, they have to be impacted by Section 232. They're like steel companies with a 50% tariff. Minimum of 10 employees, a minimum of $2 million in annual revenue. These will be loans from anywhere between $250,000 to $40 million. So think about it as providing a bridging, a liquidity to kind of stay in business, help keep workers on the job, so that that gives them an opportunity to pivot to the new world.
The money is part of $5 billion set aside in the spring provincial budget to help Ontario businesses cope with tariffs. Now, for more on this, let's bring in live tonight Keanin Loomis. He's the president and CEO of the Canadian Institute of Steel Construction. Keanin, thanks for being with us tonight. How useful do you believe this program will be for Hamilton steel businesses?
Good evening, Matt. This was very welcome news today from businesses in the steel industry impacted by the 232 tariffs. You know, there's been a lot of government action, but the one thing that has not yet been addressed is the immediate liquidity issues that that businesses are facing in the steel industry, because the market, their biggest export market to the U.S., the door's been shut. So right now, whether you're working or not, this year and at this moment, businesses in the steel industry are facing huge revenue challenges. So welcome news. We appreciate the support from the Ford government and Minister Bethlen Falvey in particular.
Now, $1 billion does sound like a lot of money, but with no end in sight to this trade dispute, do you think it's enough, or will demand for this money be so large that it runs out?
Well, I think just the creation of it and the concept is important. Obviously, as you said, $4 million was set aside in the budget. This is tapping into a little bit of that, so I think there's expectation of more to come. These are loans, after all, so we do expect to have to pay these back. So this will help in the interim, I think. And as I've said all along, Matt, folks in the steel industry, they just want to work. They don't want handouts, but this will allow us to pay the bills, allow us to keep the labor force that we have that's part of the family in the steel industry.
Now, we haven't heard of any more layoffs since June, when ArcelorMittal announced that 153 jobs would be cut from the Hamilton wire drawing mill. Do you think this money is enough to avoid any more job losses in the steel industry?
I would venture to say that there will be more losses. I think they're inevitable at this point in time. Hopefully, this will definitely, decrease the number of losses. Maybe will, prolong employment for many for a while. So that will be very helpful as well. I think the important thing for us is that, ultimately, what we want to see from the provincial government, from the federal government, they're talking a lot about supporting the domestic steel industry. I represent the fabricators in Canada, so we're the ones that that build our country's infrastructure with steel. We're the engineers. We're the ones that do the value add. So, when at a time when the governments are talking about how do we support domestic industries and talking about increasing domestic procurement for steel and fabricators like ours, really it's where are the details there, and how are we going to direct that funding and the funding for bridges and the funding for hospitals, and make sure that we're using Canadian steel and Canadian fabricators in that process, because far too many jobs have gone to overseas firms. And the thing is, when it comes to spending taxpayer money, taxpayers like us and folks here in Hamilton, they would expect that our taxpayer dollars go to Canadian firms, go to Ontario firms in the building of, for example, the Garden City Skyway, a bridge project that was just awarded to an overseas general contractor.
That's the president and CEO of the Canadian Institute of Steel Construction, Keanin Loomis. Keanin, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks, Matt.